Okay, so basically we just want to continue to inform people and business owners. So we have a few questions that we want to ask and get your answers on.
Awesome.
So what is the Paycheck Protection Program?
So the PPP is what people call it, right? The PPPL is a actual loan program that's given, that's provided by the Small Business Administration. Actually, let me step back. I can't say provided. It's guaranteed by the Small Business Administration, and it's offered to small businesses who have been impacted by this disaster, if you will, COVID-19. Now, the PPP is a traditional loan that's used through a traditional lender like a bank that offers SBA backing. It's kind of, I can't call it complex, just say that you would go borrow money from your bank and the Small Business Administration would say you're good for it. And they would lend you money. There's a $2 million limit on that loan. And it is for payroll specifically. That's why they call it the Payroll Protection Program, because it's made for payroll specifically, but you can also use that money for other things such as lease or utilities. So it's not just for payroll, but it's specifically, if I were to give you recommendations, that's what you would use it for. And the reason so is because you can actually get some forgiveness for using the Payroll Protection Act. You can actually get 75% of the loan forgiven if you use it towards payroll, and it keeps the same amount of people employed and use the same amount of payroll in the weeks following you getting the loan. And one of the coolest parts about the PPP, though, is that you don't have a personal guarantee, which means you don't have to sign over your house or your car or one of your children to get the loan. It's basically you submit an application and it's pretty much guaranteed to get approved. And it's not based on your credit either. So it's basically just a loan based on you being in business and having employees. That's probably the catch. You have to have employees for this to really work. So I hope I gave that to you in just a nutshell.
So I guess, so if you're a sole proprietor and you don't have employees, this would not.
Well, let me give you some clarity. The document that we have, and I can send that document. Anybody who wants the document that has all the details about the PPP, I can send it to you. You can email me right there at david@david8bettis.com, and I'll send it to you. But there is provisions in there that state that you could be a sole proprietorship with no employees and apply. The challenge is I don't know anybody who's done it successfully at this point. Now, I'm not saying that I know everybody, so obviously maybe there is somebody who has, but the real challenge is that the loan program is really based on payroll, and it's really hard for somebody who's self-employed to justify or to show their payroll. Most small businesses that are single owner, sole proprietor, let's say you're a photographer for an example, it would be very difficult for you to go to the bank and say, I want to borrow $20,000 because this thing has impacted my business. And the bank would say, well, show me where you would have made the 20,000 anyways. And you would say, well, okay, let me bring my tax return, or let me bring documents that say I had 1099s last year. But if you could do that, you might get the loan, but 9 out of 10 sole proprietors don't have anything that shows that they made $20,000 last year at this time, or that they lost business because of this. It's not to say that it's not possible. I'm just going to tell you it's going to be very, very difficult for somebody to prove it to a bank. I haven't seen one yet. That was a good question, by the way.
Awesome, thank you. Let me see your next question. So what is the SBA EIDL?
So the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is a program that was created for people who are literally impacted by this economic disaster. It's not for payroll. It's actually for operating. It's for payroll. It's for everything in your business. Now, this is a good program. What's really good about it is you can apply for it with pretty much just your credit. This is pretty much in some respects credit and employee based. So I actually probably should step back and say that almost every one of these programs that I'm going to reference is really tied to keeping people employed. I know that the federal government cares about small businesses like the ownership of those businesses, but the challenge is they really want to make sure that the small businesses keep their employees, because that's really what drives our economy. It's people having a job. It's they always say, you know, like we could talk about the chamber here, and they say the chamber is really a group or an organization that supports the growth of the community through business. And the whole point of business growth isn't so the owners can make more money. It's so they can have more people that work for them, which brings more money to the community, which brings more tax dollars, which brings more commerce and everything in between. So it's really what the government's trying to do, is stimulate the ability for people to keep their employees. And so the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, really what it's put in place for is to help people get resources or access to money pretty quickly, who wouldn't have had access to it before, meaning they probably wouldn't have been able to go to a bank to get money, or they don't have money in the bank currently. The cool parts about the EIDL is that you can actually get this loan through, you don't have to go to a bank. It's directly through the Small Business Administration. And because it's through the Small Business Administration directly, they're the ones who process the paperwork. They're the people who view everything. But they give you the opportunity to get an advance on the loan because they're just giving you in good faith. And the way they do that is they say, if you apply, you can apply for $10,000 in a grant that's free money. And then afterwards, they'll contact you for whatever else you need after that. But it's just kind of like an advance to make sure people and businesses staying open and keep their employees. Now, I know some people who have received it. For as much as I've seen, most businesses who have received it are only receiving $1,000 in the grant per employee.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I heard about that.
Up to 10 employees, so you can only receive 10,000. So if somebody went on there and put 0 employees, they're not going to get anything, unfortunately. It sucks. I'm sorry to say it that way, but it's true. So this Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is going to come. Hopefully, I mean, we got to think about it this way. There was probably 1 million businesses who applied for it. And since it's not it's run by the federal government, which they can't really run things really fast. So if you applied, you're probably not going to get a call from anybody for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I hate to joke or laugh about it, but it's insane how slow it's going to be for any business. If you're a business right now, depending on any of these 2 programs, I mean, don't hold your breath. It's just not something you're going to be, getting right away. So I hope I explained that well enough.
So, if I'm a business owner, how would I determine which one is the better option for
the EIDL or the PPP?
Yes.
PPP is pretty fast because it's going through a traditional lender like Wells Fargo or Compass or whoever you're using as your banking institution can probably do it. It's the faster route. The EIDL is a very good loan program. Nobody's getting it because it's going to take forever to get processed. So I can't tell you that either one's both have their own benefits. The PPP is really meant for businesses who are, well-structured businesses who already have, the ability to continue to stay open, but are having to let go of people. So a business who has 30 employees and they realize this is going to have a huge impact on their business, they cut down to 15, but they can still stay afloat until we'll see when this thing comes out, when they come out of this. The EIDL is made for businesses that are just, they really can't survive and they're gone. I mean, that's unfortunate to say, but that's probably why an EIDL is in place. Now, it's been expressed, or it has an express function now because of the fact that COVID-19 is not typically, the EIDL has been around forever, and it's typically meant for hurricanes. It's typically meant for floods and stuff. This was a totally different type of disaster. So they've streamlined some of that process, but from what I hear, it's going to take a while for an EIDL to get approved.
Okay, let's see, next question. So maybe we could do like some real calculations on the loan. I guess maybe let's go with the
PPP is the easiest.
Yeah.
Well, the other ones I can't calculate because we don't know what they're going to use as their formulas to calculate the amount of loan that they'll give. But just real simple math. I I don't know if I have a whiteboard function here, but if I did, that would be super cool. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I don't think so, but let me just tell you this. I know what to do. Simple math. Let's just assume that you had a $10,000 a month payroll right now, on average, before COVID, you were just doing 10,000 a month, 10,000 a month, 10,000 a month. So what would happen is, in order for you to determine your qualifications or how much you can borrow from the PPP loan program, what you do is you get your total payroll for the year. So if it's 10,000 a month, you would have 10,000 times 12. That would equal 120,000. Now, what you'll do then is you'll multiply, or you'll divide it by 12. So I'm only, because it's easy math. It would be a different math if it was using an odd number, but you just get 10,000 times 12 and then divide it by 12. So it comes back to 10,000. So your average payroll a month is 10,000 bucks. I only already knew that. I could have just said your payroll's for 120,000 a year, then divide that by 12, and you would get 10,000. So what you do is you get 10,000, you multiply that times 2.5 times, and you would get that your total loan amount would be 2.5 times, which is 25,000 bucks. That's your total amount that you can borrow for payroll. And the way they calculate this, that was kind of rough. Like, you're going to have to subtract your Medicare and Social Security from the wages. Most payroll companies can give you a report that'll show you this is actually the gross wages that you would use to calculate the loan. Most people can give you that report. So then you would just use that, multiply it times 2.5, and that's what you would get. And of course, as Joshua mentioned, it's up to 75% as a forgiveness. You can get 75% of this as a forgiveness, as we mentioned in the previous segment, that you can borrow up to whatever that number is, and 75% can be forgiven if you keep the same amount of employees and you keep around the same payroll in the 8 weeks post loan. So the moment you get the loan, you have to meet certain conditions. And your loan officer should be able to give them to you, or you could just go to the SBA website, or if you want a document that'll express all that to you, just email David at davidabettis.com, and I'll send you the document that has all of the guidelines for the PPP.
So the 8 weeks starts from the moment you actually get the loan.
Correct. It's interesting the way they structured this, but it's the day you get the loan is when it begins.
Okay.
So it's not a specific week range.
So we already discussed that 75% of it can be forgivable. But after that, how have they said how long they have to pay it back?
So the terms for the the PPP is 2 years, so 24 months, 1% interest rate. First 6 months, no payment. First 6 months, no payment. So really, in my opinion, it's an 18-month loan. Because 24 months minus 6 months, it's 18-month loan. So what I always recommend people is borrow only what you need. Borrow only what you need, because if you borrow more than what you need, it's a very quick payback period. It's very quick, so you don't want to be put in a position where you don't have cash to pay back. You have to be able to pay back in a timely manner, which is in less than 2 years. And so that 75% that we're talking about is part of the forgiveness, how they calculate it. So.
Okay. And then you were talking about the stimulus tracker or update or.
So yeah, we mentioned at the beginning, because one of the things that we're working on today, so to give you guys clarity, I'm in the tax and financial services space primarily, but we do consulting and different things. And today's a big day because, Friday was the first round of stimulus payments that were sent out. If you did a direct deposit, you probably saw your payment hit today or yesterday. So these are stimulus deposits. That's great. So many people are wondering where their money is. And that could help small business owners, especially this time of year, because they need it. The way that the community is working right now, every dollar counts. And so if you're asking yourself, where's my money? You have to understand that there are specific, we'll call it, channels and things that are going to have to happen for your money to get here. So the IRS released an actual website today that allows people to go update their direct deposit information if they have questions. Questionable, I don't know if I have the right direct deposit information. You can go to the website and update it. Your address can be updated there right now. If you want that address or you need that address, go to libertyfanclub.com. libertyfan.club.com, and that will, you can actually, I'll send you an email and it'll have a link to everything. I even have instructional videos on how to update your information on the websites. So in case anybody needs that. But what I'm getting at is today's a big day because many people just see this website and they're attacking it. I mean, the website crashed like 7 times today because if you can only imagine, there's 320 something million people in the United States. You know, a little more than half of them file a return. They're all wanting to know where's my $1,200, and I can't blame them. By the way, I can't blame them. So what we want to know is how do we get our money? Your money will be here within the next 30 days, but you have to understand that this is a process and it's not something that can just happen overnight. The IRS sent out 17 million deposits this week. 17 million. That's huge, by the way. That was the biggest tax deposit ever in the history of this country. And it is a huge deal. We talk to the IRS on a daily basis and we continue to get insight as to what's going to happen, what's going to change, where are we going. But this is huge. I mean, big money's coming to the world, not in large amounts to people, but if you have a family of 2, you know, if Megan and you know, your husband, it would be $2,400. If you have children, it's $500 for every child. That's huge. I mean, huge. Now, here's some things, Megan, that nobody's talking about. If you have a child who is 17 or older, he doesn't get any stimulus check. If you claim your grandparents, you claim your parents on your tax return, they don't get a stimulus check. You know, there's a few segments of people who don't, are undocumented, they don't get a stimulus check. So there are going to be small pockets of people who won't get anything.
Interesting.
That's a huge deal, by the way. Any of our viewers have good questions? Thanks, Joshua, for watching.
Let's see. Does anybody, if you have a question, if you want to comment the question, I guess, because it kind of took everyone by surprise, like no one was really expecting, I guess, this kind of event and then the impact. What are some good tips to make sure that you are kind of prepared for the situation in case it ever occurred again?
Well, that's I hope, by the way, Megan, this never happens again. I really say that, you know, with a lot of respect to everybody who's going through some struggling times right now. You know, here's what I'd like to tell business owners today, because this is a group of business owners who I really value and admire. Everybody that's watching today and everybody in the chamber. I mean, I've gotten to know most of them and the people in the community. I've worked with a lot of businesses, and you know, my belief system here is that nobody could be prepared for this, but we should be prepared for something. It doesn't mean that we had to be prepared for COVID. We just needed to be prepared for something. And if right now you're experiencing a financial hardship, this is the time where you have to buckle down and really analyze your business and say, is this a business that I can continue to operate moving forward in this new environment, in this new economy? And if it is, then you need to skill up, figure out what changes you need to make. What do I need to adapt? How am I going to make that happen? You know, if we look at the way people shop tomorrow after this, and I mean, we're still 6 weeks, probably 8 weeks away from normal, and not even normal. I can't say that. It's not going to be normal, but restaurants need to be protected. What are we going to do? I mean, people are going to be scared to go to the gym. They're going to be scared to go out to eat. Car sales are going to drop because people don't have the income that they used to have. There's going to be so much change that if you're in business right now, you need to analyze, do I need to continue to move forward with my business or not? I'm sorry to say it, but you got to make that decision now, because they're, you know, trying to resuscitate something right now is going to hurt you in the long run. Because, you know, as much as I love businesses and I love business, here's my thought. I love me more than my business. And I don't mean that because I'm selfish, but I kind of am, right? My health is more important than my business. My health is more important for my family. So if you're a struggling business right now and you're thinking about it, you need to assess your business now, because if you're really hurting, I'm telling you, you got to make a decision. Is it me or the business? Because you don't want to go down with the business. You need to let it go, and then you can figure it out. You're a smart, capable person. You've done it once, you can do it again. Let's just move on, right? I'm just saying that because there's a group of them right now. There's also another group who are still, on oxygen right now, and they can come out of this, right? They can come out of this, but they have to really, if you hadn't planned for this, now it's time to make that plan for the future, as Megan said. But you also have to start thinking about what changes you're going to have to make in the next 6 weeks, because when we go back to somewhat of what normal would look like, we got to be prepared. You can't stay home under your desk, that it's not going to solve anybody's problem. And any business owner today that wants to be successful needs to get out from under their desk, get on top of their desk, and skill up. Like, you've got to, am I going to go virtual? Am I going to go mobile? Am I going to even need a location anymore? I mean, people are going to actually reconsider, do they need a location today? Do they need to actually have physical offices? People are going to reconsider, do they need to go to the movies or should they stay home? People are going to reconsider, should I buy a new car this year or not buy anything? People are going to reconsider, should I rent in case this happens again or should I buy? They're going to reconsider every traditional thought or mindset or process they've ever had. And so if you're in business, you've got to start thinking like them. Don't think like you, because you love your product and service. So you're your worst customer because you'll always buy. And the honest truth is, it's not you, who makes the decision. It's the consumer. It's who hands you the dollar bill. If you can't see how they're going to continue to handle you dollars every day in some way, shape, or form, and enough of them to make sure that you can survive, then you need to reconsider. And if you can, then you need to figure out how you're going to make it happen. And I can't say that you can plan for this, but I can tell you, when I look at any of the businesses I'm in today, I've been working remotely for years without really knowing that. So I think the reason that is, and not to tell people I'm doing better than them or any of that, it's really to say this, is that whenever new technology comes out, I embrace it. When change comes, I embrace it. When I hear something that's new and different that I've never heard before, I don't say, nah, that's not going to catch on. That's not going to work. That's not something I should pay attention to. I'm trying to figure it out, because at the end of the day, I know things will change, right? There's 3 certainties in life that I know. There's death, there's taxes, and the last one is change. And this is it. If you ain't embracing it, you will drown, you will die in business. And it's unfortunate, because I don't want anybody to not succeed. But I do know that that's just the name of the game. In every game, there's a winner and there's a loser. Now, losers need to step up, though. They need to get out of the locker room and get to the practice field, and that's what this is. Let's get practicing. Let's get training. Let's get learning. Let's get skilled up. That's really what's going to happen.
So there's a few questions. Someone asked, where did I get the application?
There are many applications out there. SBA.gov is probably where you're going to be looking for. For the PPP loan application, you can get that from your lender, whoever your lender is. Now, if you don't have a traditional lender, if you're not looking at banking institutions, it's whoever you bank with. And if you bank with a bank, you just call them and say, hey, I want to know if I can apply for the PPP with you. And they'll tell you. And if they can't, then you need to call another bank and say, hey, how do I get there? And so on and so forth until a bank gives you the yay or the go ahead. And then for the EIDL, it's SBA.gov. Economic Injury Disaster Loan is what you're going to search for. And then look for COVID-19. If you can't find that, email david@davidafettis.com, and I'll send you the links to all of that, including an instructional video that I have on how to fill out the $10,000 grant application, as well as the application itself for the loan.
And then Joshua asked, there are rumors floating around social media that the stimulus funds are to be paid back or credit on 2021 tax returns?
That's a great question. Actually, this is the bomb. If we want to take anything out of here, I'm going to teach you guys something. I know none of the stuff I've said anywhere is valuable. This one's really valuable because I know people are thinking about it. So everybody who's filing a tax return and gets a refund every year is so concerned now that they're not going to get a big refund next year because of this check. The challenge there is that is a completely false statement. So the CARES Act provided, billions of dollars in what we call injury payments, which is a stimulus fund. And the stimulus fund really is a credit that's built into the IRS tax code. So in 2020, there's going to be a stimulus credit on your tax return. And that credit is going to be given to you if you haven't gotten your stimulus by then, because some people may not. Like if you have a child right now this year, that child won't be on a return, so the IRS won't know about the child. So when you file your 2019 or 2020 tax return in January of 2021, we will notate that your child was born in 2020 and you'll get the $500. So what's happening is, if you got your stimulus check though, we're going to notate that on the return and you just won't get it then. It's an advance payment of a tax credit for 2020. That's all it is. It's an advance. So they added a new credit called whatever credit, let's call it the stimulus credit. And that credit is just put on the 2020 tax return, and it's going to basically reconcile at that point. So you're not going to have anything taken away from anything you traditionally get. This is just in addition to. So if right now I was entitled to the stimulus check and I never got it in 2020, when I go to file my return, I'm going to get it then. So some refunds could be bigger. If not, they're all going to be the same. I hope that answered it, Joshua. And I hope, did that make sense, Megan?
Yes. So Letty asked, is this a one-time payment or will we get another check?
Ah, man. So that is a good question. As of now, it's only one. There are a lot of bills and things put out there. I read one today that said everybody's going to get $2,000 a month for as long as the sun is, goes to north and south or something. I mean, to give me honest truth, I hope this is the only one. Not because I don't want people to get money. This is the Chamber of Commerce, and this is a commerce. And by the way, this is, to be honest with you, what we're talking about right now is capitalism, which means an economy that runs on business and growth. And if we look at where we're going as a country, all the money that is being pumped into this country by no means of work or exchange, meaning nobody's working to get this money, nobody's exchanging services, nobody's selling goods, they're just pumping free money into the world. It's devaluating the dollar. And what it is, it's going to put us in an economic recession that we would never be able to get out of. So not to say that I don't want people to get 3 checks or 7 checks. There is no other check coming as of now. But to be honest with you, if we're really in business to be successful, we need to not want it anymore. We need to start figuring out how to get out into the marketplace and learn how to sell virtually, learn how to open our business where we can still make money, learn how to push a new skill or service into the workplace or the marketplace. Because if we don't, it's going to be a huge, it's going to hurt more businesses than we ever thought before. And like I mentioned before, the challenge here it isn't about businesses failing. That's not the case. It's the people that are employed by the businesses that are going to fail. And if you've got somebody right now who's working at a company and they are making, let's say before COVID, they were making $1,500 a month. Let's say that, which is not horrible money, but it's not amazing money, but that's what they were making. And then all of a sudden a stimulus comes in and pays them $2,000 a month. That's just not, it doesn't make economic sense. You're incentivizing somebody to not go back to work. And it's going to put our country in a very bad position as far as growth is concerned. I'm not talking politics. This is just me telling you, I see it as, when I look at it from just an economic standpoint, from a macroeconomic standpoint, we will fail if we continue to just give away free money. And these loan programs aren't intended to be free, but if they do become free, we should take advantage of them while they're there. They're already passed. We should take advantage of the stimulus check because it's already been passed. But we shouldn't be trying to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. Let's lay off the gas and let's try to get this country back to work. That's what we need.
So another question is, can people that do contract work qualify for the business loan?
As of right now, yes. The PPP loan and the small business, the economic injury disaster loan, they do qualify. Now, again, the challenge there is, and I'm talking, if I were a lender right now, and SBA is the lender, so who knows what they're going to do because they're really not a lender. That's not their traditional role. But let's just talk about a PPP loan. The bank has to be the deciding factor in your loan. They're the ones who make the decision. And the bank has to feel comfortable that you can pay them back. The bank has to feel comfortable, even though the SBA is going to back the note, the bank is still going to get scrutinized, if you will. The SBA is going to ask the bank questions. Why did you lend this guy money? What paperwork did he bring in? What did he show you that he could substantially make this payment and actually give us our money back? And if the bank says, well, he gave me this paper that says, you know, he made $20,000. Well, where did he get that paper? Well, he wrote it with a crayon, you know? Well, I mean, the banks can't do that. It's just simple, right? I mean, just if I were a banker, I couldn't take your paperwork unless you came to me and said, look, I have all these invoices from all these companies who are going to pay me, but they can't pay me now. Okay, now let's talk. But 9 out of 10 small businesses don't have that in order. And if you want to be successful, you're going to have to do that. Now, to talk about the EIDL loan, that one's through the Small Business Administration, and they haven't really told us what specific guidelines. I mean, there are some publications, but I don't know anybody who's gotten that loan, and I don't know anybody who's going through that process. But I would imagine it's going to be the very similar concept. They're going to want accounts receivable statements, invoices, 1099s, things that could show them that you can actually take this money and pay it back. You know, the government is trying to pump money into the world, but they're also trying to make sure that they get some of it back. And I encourage them to do that because that keeps everybody accountable. That keeps us as a country accountable. I hope that was, I hope I answered that right, Megan. I'm not right, but thoroughly enough. What do you think?
Yeah, that was good. So any last like tips or advice or anything else you'd like to share?
So, I guess my last thing here is it's really my tip here is we're talking chamber talk. And again, we're talking to small business owners. We're talking about people who work for companies that are big businesses. I mean, that's really typically a chamber member. And I know a lot of chamber members in our local community. You know, when I started to enter this, we'll call it recession period, you know, I was just as scared as most people. What are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? You know, what are we going to change? How are we going to keep our stores open? How are our employees going to work? What about their health? And I mean, as a leader, because that's what we are, it is so stressful to deal with all these things. Like how do we deal with all these things? And really what it came down to is I don't have the right answers to any of these things. You know, I don't know how we're going to continue to do this. I can tell you what I think we can do, but that doesn't mean that it's the right answer. The one thing that's been constant in my mind since this all started is an uncertain person isn't thought of as a leader. And so certainty is a very big part of becoming the person that people need in this time of crisis. And when I look at my team every day, because I speak to them every day, I have about 50 employees and team members and partners that I talk to. And every day that I talk to them, I do not go in there and say, guys, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm so lost. It's so scary. I don't know if somebody's going to get sick. You know, this person's sick at this office. I don't go in there and I say that. Never do I do that. Now, that's not because I'm some sort of superhero. It's because I know that I have to be the leader right now for my family, for my community, for my business, for the people that I support. And so the one constant I would tell anybody is stop getting under your desk and get on top of your desk. Stop thinking that the world's going to end and step up and say it with confidence. We will get through this. This too shall pass. We will get through this. This is not something that's going to stop any of us. The challenge that we face every day is we have to become a better leader through this. And anytime you're going to become better, you have to be challenged. And if you're going through an economic challenge as a business or as a family, you know, I promise you, you will get through it. The challenge is, will you get through it better or worse? Will your business come out better or worse? And that's the way I look at it every day. And I do believe that, you know, I have planned well enough to be in this situation today. So I know that I'm not the normal business owner some days, but I would say this, that there was a time where I wasn't. And I did go through some economic hardships that were very different, but very much the same. When you're broke, guys. It doesn't matter how you get broke, right? You just go broke. And I've been there. And I told myself when that happened to me, which was 6 years ago, I remember looking in the mirror and saying, this will never happen again. I will never let my company, my team, my family ever go through this again. And from there forward, I changed who I was. I changed my attitude. I changed my commitment level. I changed my skill level, and I stepped up. And for the last 6 to 7 years, all I've done is that step up and push harder and harder. And even right now, I tell my team and I tell my wife, I tell everybody, I'm working harder right now today than I worked before COVID-19. And I'm doing it harder every day. I built this home office and I work from 7:30 in the morning to like 9 o'clock at night every day grinding. I'm hustling, I'm pushing, and it's not to share that I'm making tons of money, because to be honest with you, my business takes dips just like this everybody else's. But I know that if I don't do this when we come out in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, I'll be dead if I don't do that now. So
Mm-hmm.
my advice is to step up right now. Be a great leader to your team. If you don't have a team and it's a one person, go look in the damn mirror and say you're a winner and you're gonna make it. I know it's an affirmation that many people have trouble saying, but you are better. You are better in every way. Every day I get better and better. And go for it, guys, because you guys can do it. I know you can. And if there's anything I can do for you, David at davidapettis.com. I am more than happy to help anybody who reaches out to me. We're definitely doing business, and we're definitely doing right by the community, and I promise we'll do right by you. Who?
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all the information and answering those questions for our viewers. So, if anyone has any questions, you can reach out to David, or if you have if you need any assistance, the chamber is here to assist you. So, thank you all for watching.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.